bit of a back. I'm going to turn it over to one of our very talented channel leaders for RapidScale, Mr. Andrew Davis. He's our channel manager out of the Pacific Northwest, supporting our partners in that region. And Andrew's brought a few of RapidScale's close friends. We've got RDM today, a valued partner, going to work with Andrew and review some deals that we won together in the last year or so, and to go through an anatomy of a deal, what actually took place, how we won together, what the enablement process looked like, and really go in depth on how a partner can transact successfully with RapidScale and how the customer benefited. Really what the long-term success looks like. So with that, AD, I'm assuming you're ready to go, and I'll turn it over to you, bud.
Yeah, Bob, I'm just trying to screen here. Let me get going. Can everybody?
No, I cannot see it.
Okay. Wait a minute.
If you my screen, Andrew, I can.
Yeah, do that. I'm having a little bit of difficulty here.
Yep, no problem. 1 second, everyone. And just have the presentation up. Oh, see my screen now?
Yes. Yep.
Or roll with it this way. So go for it, Andrew.
Yeah, a moment. I'm just logging into yours. I had to jump out. Apologies.
No worries.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Sorry again about the difficulties here. And I wanted to thank my partners out of the Pacific Northwest for joining RDM Technologies. James Warren, he's the principal and general manager, and also Brad Steinmeier, who is a vice president of them. So in a nutshell, and I'm going to let them talk a little bit about their business in a little more detail, but a business advisory service and agency for small and medium-sized business enterprises throughout Washington, founded in 2007 and based out of Seattle, Washington. I've had the pleasure of working with these gentlemen and to really appreciate how they go about their business, both different in the way they go about things and personality-wise, and it's just a really good match. And just a pleasure to work with them. They brought us deals, which we're going to talk about in a while. But I wanted to kind of get them involved in the call now and open it up. And I'll just ask you, Jim or Brad, first question here, just to kind of expand on your business model. And how did you talk a little bit about how you developed and share your path to where today with REM Technologies?
Yeah, that one, Andrew. This is Jim. We started, like you mentioned, in 2007 as traditional telephony agent, and into the business and in that same area and space of the markets, working with the 20 to 200, and started to graduate to more of a cloud focus around, gosh, I'd say probably close to PBX specifically. I mentioned cloud right around 2010, and that was where we first started the technology of moving things off premise.
Okay, very cool. Tell us, a little bit how Brad came into the picture and your relationship, and how that's really kind of been a catalyst to your organization within the cloud space.
Well, this is Brad. I had been in the carrier side of the business, working in channel, supporting partners for a long time, and Jim and I we had the opportunity to work together back in 2003, and after we kind of our different our company and gone our ways for years, we stayed close as friends, and we'd regularly talk about is the timing right? Does it make sense for me to come work with RDM? And in 2014, 4 years ago, the time was right for me and my family, and so I was able to make the leap and join RDM and really take some of the cloud training that I had, at a previous organization, and some of the sales training I had at a previous organization, and then a lot of learning for those of you that have come from the carrier side to the agent side. There's a learning curve, and really jump in and help start teaming with Jim to attack accounts and drive cloud sales.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brad. So I'm just asked the question. Either of you can answer. When and how did you hear about RapidScale, and then how did you get engaged with our team?
Right. That's really where I heard of RapidScale. Going through the training, to Super 9 with Intelisys, and then going Super 9 itself, and really diving into a technology that we're aware of. It was on our radar, but nothing that we were attacking. And realizing that we lost the veil from telephony agents and IT partners and consultants. And at Super 9, that's where I first learned about RapidScale.
Yeah, I'd echo the same. I think looking, they're seeing. I think there was a awareness of RapidScale for me for maybe a little while before going to Super 9 in Austin, and yet it was something that was foreign. There was a supplier in the lineup that engaged. I didn't know what I would engage them for, and then I think Super 9 really is that for me as well.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, wrote a good background on your company. I'd really like to kind of swing into. We've had some really good wins together, and the process, as I mentioned before, really enjoyed working with you guys. Very professional across the board, very consultative. Let's jump into the first case study, and we'll start going through that. We'll give you a little bit of a background, but this is a nonprofit organization out of the Pacific Northwest, 18 locations, lot of challenges associated with IT. Right? It was quite a mess to say the least, but limited funds, limited resources, just really struggling, right, and delivering those business applications that help really process the people in need in this particular nonprofit organization. So let's talk about this one. This was a substantial win, right? This was 600 desktops, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of storage, a lot of backup. Let's open it up, and how did you find the deal? How did you engage? And then I guess how did you determine who was the best fit from a supplier standpoint? So put that out there to either one of you.
Yeah, I'll grab that one. So work in a business it's on relationships and relationships with suppliers and peers and partnerships that you form out there. We were working with a large consulting company in Seattle, and one of their had a relationship with this nonprofit, and he had a really long story that is just really compelling to who the organization was, what they had actually done for him when he was in a rough chapter of his own life, and upon meeting us, he said, "Gosh, what you guys do and how you do it, you need to meet this nonprofit. They're struggling." So it was kind of a daisy chain of people that introduced us into this customer, and just pure relationship and people knowing who we are and how we work was how we were led into it. That began our initial engagement with this customer.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Brad, what was your perspective on it?
Well, and let's just, roll right into how the engagement went. And so we met with this customer and we had scheduled our initial first meeting for about 45 minutes. And as we sat down with the customer and we went through the process of discovery and really trying to understand their business, and in that process, is when you uncover the opportunity. But what we quickly realized is that fix a company where everything is kind of broken, and so we went through a very intensive. I think we were whiteboarding their infrastructure for 2 hours, and where their application set, what locations had what type of layer 1 network, and what their firewalls were, and we quickly realized, and in my words, their words, is that we need help with everything. Our technology is outdated. Our have catastrophic failures regularly, and it was powerful as it was to see the mission of this nonprofit. It made it more critical, and more urgent for us to find a solution that would help them out, and it presented a challenge. I mean, it was one of the most unique engagements from a discovery standpoint I've ever gone through.
Unstaffed, unfunded, just enough of anything, and limited in the depth of technical talent that the customer's staff possessed, and they're very, very bright people, but large organization and only a small handful of people that were supported. So needed a lot of help.
Right, and that's a good point, because RapidScale really thrives on that market space where, frankly, their IT, they need help. And you recognize that, you got our message, and you engaged us. So clearly this was a very complex, opportunity across the board. What did you see as the biggest challenge we were going through this process?
I personally thought it was unraveling the rat's nest that was currently in place and filling in the expertise gaps. And because there were so many gaps, and I'm putting down the IT staff that's there. I think, in their words, not ours, they'd had so much churn that nobody really knew. I mean, they couldn't even get into their own firewalls, and make those changes, and didn't have some of the expertise to do some of the things that they needed. So kind of unwrapping the current environment so we could stand up the new environment was probably the biggest challenge that I saw.
Yeah. And I think originally it was, if I'm being honest, I think that we had an oversight on the importance of what the one network looked like, and I recall a meeting that I think Brent and I perceived as when we were wrapping up, we were closing, and we were going to the final T's and C's, and and Rapid Scale, Aaron and the whole team, the engineers, Ray Jeter had come along, and he was the one that backed it down actually, and said that we needed to wait where we were and what the probability of success would be if we did not address the layer 1 network. And he insisted that out first because like everybody wanted the same thing. They wanted a successful outcome, and it was an awkward moment that we set back before we could go forward again. And the end is that the decision makers all on the nonprofit side were ready to move forward, and so to step back in opinion, but the technical staff, the folks that were supporting it, you see them all nodding up and down at the end of the room. And yes, that's exactly what we need to do. So to know what you needed to do, but then the budget and where were they going to come up with the capital expense to down a new layer 1 network.
I appreciate that, and I was along for the ride with you most of the way, but it's to get different insights. I'm here more than I learned across the process. So thanks for that. So at a point in this, did either of you, Jim or Brad, feel like, wow, we've maybe bit off more than we could do here? This is much, and maybe throw up your hands and walk away? Was there ever that moment?
Well, for me, no. I would definitely, at different points, I was definitely in over my head. I think where we began this is the Super 9 training was invaluable. That just that's what got us going on the path. The whiteboard exercise of opening up this can of worms, and then bringing that to you guys, Andrew, and you guys were able to insert your team and bring together the support that us confident in what was going to happen next, and at every step of the way, the competency that was just displayed, and willingness to partner and come beside the customer and their mission. Confident that we get all the way through this process.
I think that, and you learn this with cloud opportunities, is that it's our job as the consultant to go in and do an evaluation of the customer and really understand what their business drivers are. And I said it earlier on the call. And then when you pick that provider that you believe is the right provider, and in this case, there was just no doubt in our mind that it was Rapid Scale, to let your team come in. And it's different than telephony agency where, I just want quotes. You've got to bring Rapid Scale in and surrender to the process and really make their engineers and their executive team part of your team, and there's power in that. And when we've done that, we've had 100% success in winning business.
Brad, I agree with that across the board, and it was a true team effort, and we really worked hard to bring this one in. So the last question before we move into the next case study is, what does it look like today? Flash forward, we've installed them, we've turned them up, we've gone through our process, and they're up and running. Quick about their environment today.
Well, first of all, we before we even finished the turn up, as we were phasing the roll in, when we were doing our status calls, the IT staff, would be lighting us up saying, first time since I've been an employee at this organization, I have clinical staff and support staff calling me and thanking me for how well the system's running. And for the first time as an IT person, I feel like I can come to work, and if something's not going right, I can fix that day instead of knowing that it's going to be 3 weeks or 4 weeks before I get to that fire. So that was really great to hear, that as an organization that we've taken IT and because your support and infrastructure works so well, that we've turned it into a utility that's on par with phones, internet, and now IT, that it just works and as it should, and you can in the business of supporting your clients and not wrestling with your IT.
Mm-hmm. Having an extended image.
Yeah,
right.
Really good to hear, and we could talk about this one for a long time because it was such a great win and so many parts to it. But let's consider time. Let's move on to the next case study. Much different, right? This is a retail organization. They're a boutique coffee roaster out of the Pacific Northwest. Multiple locations. Some of the challenges included, hey, they were up for a pretty substantial hardware refresh that they're facing, in their existing kind of MSP supported model. It really lacks IT support and talent. Big challenge in a number of ways, which we'll get into, and looking at moving physical locations. So those were some of the real business drivers behind it. So, Ju, you talk about this opportunity as a whole. I know you coming from a supplier background, followed you and you had great relationships, and this is one of them. I think after us talking a little bit about it, you said, "Hey, I found a great opportunity. Let's after it." So let's hear from you on kind of the shell in this particular opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is a longtime customer that I worked with for years. One of my earliest customers, going back to when RDM started, and they're the customer that went from the flex circuit to the hosted PBX ultimately, and at a crossroads where the customer was determining to beef up their IT department and buy new infrastructure, or what do you think? And they asked Brad and I to come meet with them off site, which was a little telling to what they were dealing with, and they were really transparent with where concerns were, and from that initial conversation, we did the classic telecom thing. Is we ran out and we called a bunch of people who do compute and got the 3 quotes, and we threw the 3 quotes at the customer and said one that we suggest, and then we proceeded to go through the implementation. And what we discovered going through, and this is not with RapidScale, this is a failure to launch moment, and lessons learned going through the failure. We did internal, good point also, pre-Super 9, and so I mean I would say that we were clueless. Clearly, we were exposed to IT, so we have level of understanding at this point. But as we get into it, we find that there is an unidentified concern from the on-staff IT that he just had a misperception around, what does the end of this look like, and where will I be, and so that ended in a failed attempt to roll them to the cloud. We cover this, and I reach the customer, and I sit down with the executives and say I'd like to have a fresh crack at this, and I run them through the whiteboard format, and it was clearly we were coming at this from a different level of understanding and competency, and recognized that, and they said, all right, that's ahead. And I said, just so you know, we're going to do this a little bit different. I'm not bringing you 3 more quotes, and I'm going to bring to you that I think is going to fit this need, and I'm going to vet it out with them next. Having the conversation with RapidScale and really laying out the one with what had happened previously, kind of what the drivers were, based with, like I said, adding staff and buying boxes or moving to the cloud, and there's suspect with moving to the cloud, so we'll have to overcome some of that. We got into the implementation, and old occurrences started to reveal themselves again. And I think that taking the time to really be transparent with RapidScale about all facets of the business and helping them to understand things the way that I understood them through the lens of the customer, up so that they could be handle the solution with the kid gloves that it required. That was a huge struggle that we had to work through. It extended the time of implementation, but at a certain turning point, and this is where I think it was just valuable to the development of the relationship with the customer. These solution deployments, it's not a transactional sort of a thing. It's the relationship with the customer in ways that I've not experienced previously. Is just it's in and out really quick, and to the next.
So I want to clarify something for everybody that's on the call. The struggles weren't with the RapidScale implementation. The struggles were with an internal IT resource. This customer has very complex applications and the way they integrate with their ERP and how they ship and print labels, and their IT person who was worried that when we got to the end of this process that he wouldn't have an opportunity in the organization was doing everything he could to constantly say that this deployment's not going to work, this deployment's not going to work. And really it was RapidScale's team and expertise that came in and disproved that and stood this up. So I don't know that we were ever really clear about that, and I don't want the people on the call to think that the struggle was with RapidScale at all.
No, good point. I was really tiptoeing around that one, but yeah, no, great point, Brad. And so ultimately the we resulted in success, and the customer's in a great spot now, and I think the relationship and the bond is a lot stronger than this with the typical telephony customer that we do. I think that when you transform somebody's business in such a meaningful way, and data is the lifeblood of their organization, it changes the way that I think that we're viewed, and so lessons. That was the first one that we ever did, and then of course onto the nonprofit was the second one that we did. So yeah, great things.
That was a great win, and we're up against it right now. We're right at 9:30, but tell us, we had all these bumps. We had a saboteur involved trying to, derail our efforts in this cloud transformation. Where at today? What does their environment look like? And
move happened. The move happened, and we had them stood up in RapidScale prior to the move. So the move consisted of PCs and going across the street and plugging them back in, and there was no disruption. There was no drop off in service. They had a very seamless move event, and we weren't the thing that they talked about during the move. They had more trouble coordinating with electricians and cable pullers than they did with anything that had to do with PBX that was already in place, and then all the compute that was in the RapidScale cloud. And they're using the full range. They're tier 1 help desk with RapidScale through everything. Their desktop as a service, managing the infrastructure, the business continuity and backup. It's the full solution. We don't pick a product and try to sell it. What we're doing these days is looking at the business and bringing a business solution. We're addressing customers with products.
That's good for that. And guys, we're over the time. I just wanted to say I appreciate your partnership. I know you have a rich pipeline. I know we're working on things, so we're really excited about what's to come. And your business is growing, so couldn't be more happy for you. But that really concludes the RapidScale webinar series for today. And we thank everybody for their time, and especially RD Technologies.